Wasn't President Trump supposed to drain the swamp? Isn't that what he promised all along the campaign trail, that we're going to drain that swamp? We're going to get rid of those corporate elites. We're going to get rid of all those lobbyists. We're going to get rid of all those people that are just there for the money. Yeah, well, that didn't happen. In fact, it's gotten larger under President Trump. And now this morning from the Washington Post, this story had me floored, which is this front page story on the Washington Post. Pentagon used taxpayer money meant for masks and swabs to make jet engine parts and body armor. That's right. Stephen Jones, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much. Isn't this outrageous? The payments were made even though the U.S. health officials think that major funding gaps in the pandemic response still remain. So this money was there. It goes on to say this: $1 billion. The $1 billion fund that Congress gave the Pentagon in March to build up the country's supplies of medical equipment has instead been mostly funneled to defense contractors and used to make things such as jet engine parts, body armor, and dress uniforms. Yeah. So once again, have I not talked about these defense contractors and how Washington just loves to make sure that their pockets are lined? We go to these perpetual wars. We stay perpetually in war so that we can line these defense contractors' pockets. When you ask yourself, why the hell are we in Afghanistan? This is exactly why we're in Afghanistan still. It's so these guys can continue to make money, and they can continue to donate money to the two major parties, Republicans and Democrats. They continue to funnel millions of dollars from Boeing and all of these different places, Lockheed Martin, all of these different factories that are in the backyards of all of these different representatives across the country, because they can keep making money. The story goes further, and this is really outrageous. The CARES Act, of course, which Congress passed earlier this year, gave the Pentagon money to, quote, prevent, prepare for, and respond to coronavirus. That's what the CARES Act was structured for. But how do you explain this then? That they went to funnel to jet engine parts, body armor, and dress uniforms. How is that helping to prepare, prevent, and respond to coronavirus? The answer is, it's not. The story goes on even further and more outrageous. DoD officials, this was their response when the Washington Post asked them, contend that they have sought to strike a balance between boosting American medical production and supporting the defense industry, whose health they consider critical to national security. Oh, okay. Let me see if I understand that. Let's parse those words a little bit. So they consider the defense industry, making sure that they're making millions of dollars to make jet engine parts and body armor, that's vital right now during a pandemic. That's vital. That's what we need. Well, the answer is no, that's not what we need. In fact, there's a $9 billion shortfall. And here is further here's what we actually need, because the Trump administration has done little right now to limit the defense firms from accessing multiple bailout funds at once. Read this. And is not requiring the companies to refrain from layoffs as a condition of receiving these awards. Some defense contractors received the Pentagon money even though they had already dipped into another pot of bailout funding, the Paycheck Protection Program. So normal businesses that have had to lay off people or who have gone under completely, they don't get to double dip like these defense contractors do. And the Trump administration just looked the other way. That is about as swampy as you get. Meanwhile, in fact, listening to Robert Redfield, who's the director for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, he said last week in testimony that states desperately need $6 billion to distribute vaccines to Americans early next year. So we have a $6 billion shortfall right now. We need money to distribute vaccines. And yet the Pentagon just took $1 billion and funneled it to defense contractors. Also, many hospitals still face a shortage. Yeah, that's right. Many hospitals still face a severe shortage of N95 masks. They also don't have other PPE equipment. And these are just a few of the problems associated with where this money was originally intended to go. I mean, it just underscores, once again, the lack of oversight and the willingness to just bail out these large companies without even questioning where this money went. We still don't have any kind of an audit in place. The only reason we even know about this is because of the Washington Post doing this reporting. And furthermore, then now Democrats are calling for an investigation into this. But they didn't even know about it because there's no oversight. But that the Pentagon can take this kind of money, $1 billion, that's set aside for prevention, in preparation for maybe distributing vaccines, setting up infrastructure where we can get these vaccines out across the United States. No. In the same way that we have armories all over the country, right? We have different armories set up so that if we had some sort of an attack on the American soil, we'd be ready to go. National Guard would be, we'd have all of these depots of missiles and weapons and tanks scattered all around the United States because we have that ready to go. It's military. We got it ready to go, baby. You want to get out vaccines? Get those to the American people? No, we don't need those refrigeration trucks set up. No, I'd rather just line the pockets of my defense contractor buddies rather than taking that money, taxpayer money, by the way, and putting it in the right place. Meanwhile, 9 million people still do not have their stimulus checks this morning. That's right. 9 million people still have checks that have been unsent. Congress trying to find out why the IRS hasn't sent them out. Hey, maybe if they took $1 billion from the Pentagon, they could put something in place to get money distributed to the right people. But it turns out there are 9 million people for whom they may not have even had internet access to go online and to give the information to the IRS. So what this is the IRS knows that these 9 million people need this money, but they haven't given it to them. They are aware. They've been aware of it for months that these people need a stimulus check. I mean, how many people watching right now? I know that there's a lot of you that still have not received your stimulus check. And you have internet access. Now, there are people that didn't know how to fill this out. They didn't know they had to get online. They might not even have internet access, as millions of Americans do not. They had no other way of getting it. The IRS was aware of them and still didn't send out this money. 9 million people that still didn't get stimulus money. And yet our defense contractors are doing just fine, and big businesses are doing just fine. I loved this question yesterday during the Senate hearing, or during the congressional hearing of Jerome Powell. They wanted him on the record about bank bailouts. Listen to this question. It was pretty direct, and now we have it on the record.
The question to you is simple. Has there been a bailout for banks during COVID-19?
No, I wouldn't say that there has been.
No, I wouldn't say that there has been in so many words, but I'm sure if we wanted to parse words, we could. Yes, I mean the answer is yes. I mean yes, but I'm just going to say for the record, no. Did millions of Americans are still waiting on their stimulus checks? Yeah. In a manner of speaking, yeah, they are. Outrageous. Let me know your thoughts on this story. Drop a comment below. Pentagon getting $1 billion that they just decide to maneuver around and send it to line the pockets of defense contractors. This is the swamp. Has President Trump drained the swamp, or has he expanded it? Show me examples of where the swamp has been drained, and I'll show you more that have been added.